Good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined here today by Alberta NDP leader Rachel Notley. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the signatories to Treaty 7, and I would like to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection and history to this land. We are here today asking for action. Action from this UCP government to help spare Alberta families from skyrocketing utility prices that are expected to go up again in October. This price shock could not come at a worse time for families who've already faced countless challenges created by 40-year high inflation rates. A survey of Alberta households over the summer found that more than half were $200 or less away from being unable to pay their bills at the end of the month. That's the highest rate in the country. And Ipsos found that more than 60% of Albertans are concerned that they may not have enough money to feed their families, due to grocery prices that have seen large increases, with some vegetables and other items increasing 30% or more year over year. Food banks told CBC earlier this week that they're seeing an increase in demand of up to 60% when compared with 2021. And the cost pressures go on and on, from tax increases to car insurance premiums to student loan interest and so much more. And so many of these massive price increases come as a direct result of UCP policies. And now this government expects a pat on the back for finally re-indexing income taxes. But they did that only after taking $300 million from families. And they continue to refuse to undo the damage to the seniors benefit, AISH, the child tax benefit, and other programs that support vulnerable Albertans. My message to the UCP government is simple. This is not enough. We need more action. For that, I'll turn things over to our leader, Rachel Notley.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you very much. And thank you as well for your tireless advocacy on behalf of Alberta families who are confronting these massive cost challenges. And let me also congratulate you on being formally nominated as the NDP candidate for Calgary Mountain View again last night. I so look forward to working with you as we work together to help families make ends meet in the years going forward should we form government. Now, Albertans deserve a government that is laser focused on lowering costs and making life more affordable. Nowhere has the need for greater affordability been more clearly experienced by Albertans than when they were all opening their utility bills last winter and spring around their kitchen tables. Now, we thought it was bad then, but today we have new information for you. All the evidence when it comes to utilities is that things will instead get even more expensive than we saw last winter and spring. New price projections for Calgary utility provider ENMAX and Edmonton provider EPCOR show that both companies believe the rate for electricity will reach nearly 23 cents per kilowatt hour this fall. We cannot find any record anywhere of prices ever being this high. For context, that is double what Albertans were paying just a few months ago, and much higher than last winter. Now, back then, the regulated rate for electricity went to 15.2 cents per kilowatt hour, and families suffered. We were inundated with letters and phone calls and texts and messages from families who were just unable to keep the lights on and the heat running in their homes or to pay the bills in order to do that. Some had seen their bills double, even triple, without warning. Now, this October's forecast is worse. It is much, much worse. And the days are getting shorter and colder. And the price projections for several months to come are hardly better. 18.5 cents in November, 18.8 cents in December, and then the price spiking again to 20.2 cents in January, and softening only slightly to 8.8 cents again in February. So these are very, very scary prices, my friends. So let's talk a little bit about solutions. Now, you'll recall when we were in government, we had a utility price cap that the UCP government has since eliminated. These record utility prices are 3.5 times the 6.8 cent per kilowatt hour rate that our NDP government had capped electricity at. Now, back when we did that, we did it to protect families from the exact kind of price spikes that we are about to see across this province. But I also have to be honest, I'd never actually imagined prices this bad. Now, after first promising real relief to families late last year, the UCP government finally delivered on a $50 per month electricity rebate in July, and that is designed to carry on through December. But here's the thing, these new numbers demonstrate very, very clearly that that just won't be enough. Not with prices like these. So we need emergency relief for families, and that's why Kathleen and I are here today to call for an emergency reinstatement of the electricity utility rate cap before we see those record prices hit the bills of Albertans in October. We believe doing this immediately will save many Alberta households hundreds of dollars on their monthly utility bills. May not look like it right now, my friends, but here's the thing. Winter is coming, and families need relief. We would urge the UCP government to leave this cap in place until at least February. If this change requires legislation, well, the Alberta NDP opposition is here and ready to join the government in the House to get it done. We were just there yesterday. We could reconvene next week and bring forward emergency measures. We are asking the government to set aside the party infighting and the campaigning long enough to come back to work to pass this important measure to protect Alberta families from the threat that we can all see is coming down the road. So thank you, and we're happy to take any questions you might have.
A different topic for Rachel. Rachel, I wanted to get your reaction to Danielle Smith's $300 health spending account proposal. Today she released some more details. It sounds like her proposal has this account being managed through a smartphone app. So first of all, I just wanted to get your thoughts on such an account if Smith became premier.
Well, let me just start by saying that a bad idea on an app is still a bad idea. And it's more likely to be a bad idea that more people have to suffer through. So this whole idea that she's talking about with a health spending account, by her own admission, as a result of things that she has written in the past, is part of teaching Albertans a culture of getting ready to interact with and access healthcare through an insurance pay system. This is a private pay system. This is the American model. And this is just yet another example of everybody in the UCP competing for ways to take apart our healthcare system, get us into credit card medicine, and undermine the quality of healthcare that Albertans receive when they need it. Our healthcare system is in incredible crisis, and what it needs, and what the Albertans who rely on it need, and I would argue that that is all Albertans, is a government who is focused on fixing the crisis, not making it worse. And this idea as a whole is part of making it worse.
Yeah, so how would it make it worse?
Well, basically it makes it worse because for a number of reasons. She's talking about funding it through current Alberta health funding. So she would be diverting funds from programs that are already in place for this one. So it would cause a whole bunch of fragmentation. Secondly, it talks about subjecting certain healthcare services which are currently funded to no limit because it's based on need and medical need, about converting those services to this account. So you would then find people being limited in their access to those services when they ran out of money in the account because they happen to be more ill or going through a tough time with their health at any given time. But as I said before, it's also about creating a process whereby people start thinking about their health care as something they have to check their insurance relationship, they have to check their savings account before they go and seek out health care. One of the items she's talking about, Michelle, is dental. Well, we know that on the federal level, we're trying to make sure that dental is available to everybody regardless of cost, and she wants to pull that back. Physiotherapy has been, the delisting of physiotherapy was a bad idea, and it hurts people. Diagnostic imaging, much of that is fully covered right now by our healthcare system. Making it subject to this quasi-insurance system would mean that more and more people wouldn't get access. So this is part of a larger plan to privatize not only the delivery, but also the funding of our public health care. Our values as Canadians, our values as Albertans, are that when we or someone we love or we know gets sick, they get access to the health care they need when they need it, regardless of the amount of money they have in any account, theirs or anybody else's. And so that's what we have to get back to. And I'll agree that there are challenges in the system, primarily brought about by the very damaging decisions taken by the UCP. And we need a government that is focused on undoing the damage done by the UCP, not making it worse.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Just to follow up on what Michelle was asking there, I'm wondering what you think about Danielle's suggestion that addictions and residential treatment programs also be covered by health spending accounts. It seems a little odd given that the UCP government has decided to eliminate those user fees for publicly funded facilities.
No, well, again, as I say, this idea is all about pulling back universal funding based on medical need and replacing it with a user pay system that is driven by how much you do or don't have in your account. And let us be clear, what you have in your account will depend on whether you are healthy or, unfortunately, are struggling with a health issue. And so it discriminates against those who need the help the most. And it is part of a privatization strategy. So it is bad for our healthcare. And yes, the inclusion of addiction services in there is utterly ridiculous. It would not help. It would undermine people's access.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about this electricity cap that you're talking about today. I mean, you've called for this before, and obviously your government had a very specific rate cap in. But there are different kinds of electricity, many different kinds of electricity customers in Alberta. It's a wildly complicated system.
Yes, I know,
and not everybody was covered under that cap originally. The previous rate cap, from my understanding, only applied to customers under regulated utility providers. So if you were able to wave a magic wand here, or if you're elected government, how would you propose a cap that would apply to all Albertan consumers?
Well, the cap applied to any consumer who wanted to avail themselves of it. There were some folks who were already on plans that had, they'd essentially paid a premium in order to buy that stability, and for those folks, they were already on those plans. But this cap was there for those who weren't in that situation, and so people could always avail themselves of it. The key issue here is predictability for Alberta families and for Alberta households. You just can't have that day at the end of the month when you're looking at all your bills and figuring out what money goes where. You can't have that experience of opening up the bill and discovering that utilities have tripled completely unexpectedly. And so our cap was about providing that kind of certainty to Alberta families. And that's why the rebate that the UCP reluctantly and in a very delayed fashion brought into effect doesn't help with the predictability issue. When you see numbers like 23 cents per kilowatt hour in the offing, you know that bills are going to explode well beyond anything many households are equipped to handle, and that's going to create crisis. And so we're trying to head it off today by proposing this solution. And yes, we would ensure, Lisa, that it is available to any consumer who wants access to it.
Hi, Rachel. Another topic. Looks like Premier Kenny is in London right now, and he's in the queue to see the Queen's coffin, I guess, at Westminster Abbey. So, what's your reaction to that?
Well, my understanding is that he is doing this on his own dime. So I don't really have a lot to offer, a lot of comment to offer on it. As long as he's doing it on his own dime, I think that's his call to make.
No, that's it. Thanks.
So much for watching, and to learn more, check out albertasfuture.ca.